Hello! Welcome! Happy New Year! Happy 2019! The vlogs are back, and I finished all of my Ninepoint prep before the new year. I think it was literally December 31st that I finished the last of the character design fix-ups, and the setting stuff, and all the extra characters. Like, I did it. I did it, guys. And Bones sat down with me, and he was nitpicking everything, and then I did the corrections, and then I've actually finished everything, and it was great. So now I'm starting on thumbnails, and thumbnails are very important, and I'm very happy to finally start on them. So as I was working on these, I had my little script open. Bones and I printed off the script. You don't have to. We just found it easier. One, it gave us like a hard copy of the words in case there was like a problem where Bones' script file got deleted. Like, that almost happened forever ago, so he was like, okay, I'm printing everything out now, just in case. So I had my little hard copy of my script, and just for issue number 2, and I started going through and started doing thumbnails. So these are like the first thumbnail sketches of Ninepoint issue number 2. Personally, I always start with just drawing out the panel formations. So that usually involves just sitting down, reading through the script, and figuring out, like, okay, which of these panels is, like, the most important thing? Like, which one is, like, the major piece of this page? Like, what is the major thesis of this page? Like, what is the most important piece of information that needs to be conveyed in here? Whether it's dialogue or a visual, whichever thing holds the most weight gets the most weight on the page. And then before I even start drawing any of the stuff, I will put down just little lines saying, here's panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. And I usually do that for a few pages. And then when I start to actually draw out the thumbnails, I don't have to stop and make a gutter. I can just jump in and work on drawing stuff. So when I am doing my thumbnail sketches, I am not trying to do beautiful finished art whatsoever. I am just trying to figure out the composition of a piece, meaning how things are flowing together, where the characters are placed. Sometimes I will play around with, like, what I want the contrast to be on that page. Though usually it's just, like, where people are placed, how they're expressing to, like, a really tiny level. Like, not sitting down and, like, figuring out their expression entirely. It's usually just, like, an emoji face. But just showing, like, what they should be feeling in that panel. Because when I come back and I'm working on my pencils, I'll have my script open, sure, but sometimes it's nice to be like, okay, I was kind of thinking they'd express this way. Because sometimes on a second read-through, you're like, oh, I see it differently now. It's nice to plan out everything. And I also know that, like, when I first start on thumbnails, they're usually really detailed, and then the further along I go, the less detailed they get, because I'm like, I'm getting into the rhythm of it, and I realize I only need so much information, and I really need to stop putting in a ton of detail. So, like, my first few pages are always very, like, way over-detailed than they need to be, and then they get better as they progress. I also find it's really important at this stage. I lay my thumbnails out, like, side by side, kind of how they would be laid out in a book. That's because all my comics go into books eventually, especially Ninepoint here, which we intend to, like, mostly keep as a book and not necessarily post online, though we'll see. So I like to make sure to put my pages down in book format, just so that I can see how they will be laid out once they are printed. And it also lets me see, like, I want to make sure that I don't have the same page layout side by side, if that makes sense. So, like, I don't want the panels to be laid out exactly the same on 2 pages side by side. I don't want 2 panels that look really similar, like a close-up shot of someone's face twice on 2 different pages side by side, because that's really confusing and annoying. So having things laid out how they will appear in the book really helps prevent that stuff. And yeah, it's just nice to compare how your pages will look all over the place. And I also do it in big swaths of pages, as in, like, I will look at 4 or 5 pages at a time and be like, is there anything here that looks way too similar? Okay, I better fix that. So again, thumbnails are great because they give you a bird's eye view of how the page will look, and they give you a bird's eye view of how the layout will look before you've really committed a whole bunch of time to your pages. And that's all really important early on in the comic making process. It's why prep is important. It's why thumbnails are important. It's why it's important to do pencil work as well before you do your inks and colors, because you want to give yourself as many chances as you can to catch mistakes or things you don't like before you've committed a whole bunch to the pages. So keep this as lo-fi as possible. I just do it digitally because I find that faster, but if you like to do it, say, with pencil and paper, do that as well. That's fine. You can do it in pen too, because it's a thumbnail sketch, so it takes 10 minutes, and it's really easy to redo if you mess it up somehow. Keep it small, keep it easy to mess up, and easy to redo, because it'll save you a lot of time and pain if you don't commit too soon, too early. It's also really nice because you're working so quickly and so lo-fi. You can, if you draw out a panel and you don't like it, you can redraw it really, really quickly and really easily. I do that a lot when I'm thumbnailing. I will have something, pictured in my head, this character will be here and this character will be here. Then I'll draw it out and I was like, oh, that doesn't look so good. I will try a different way. It lets me really figure out continuity of action as well. So say I'll have a character who's walking one way, and then I can see in the next panel that it still looks like they're walking in the same direction. I haven't flipped their position at all by accident. That's something I used to do a lot when I first started doing comics, is I'd have a character walking one way, and then a whole other way, the whole camera would flip around. It'd be really confusing. People couldn't tell where characters were. And the reason I'd flip things all around is just for the comic flow, to make sure that things would be pointing towards the next panel. However, I was losing continuity, and you want to have both. You want to have continuity, you want to understand where your characters are in the space, and you want panel flow. It's really nice to be able to figure that out really quickly, really easy with my thumbnails, and not worry about it when I'm inking my page and going, oh no, I messed it all up. So that is the wonder and glory of thumbnails. They're really nice. They're very helpful. The one problem I do have with them, and it's not a huge problem, is just they always take more time than I think they will. Because, you think, oh, it's a tiny little sketch, it takes, 5 seconds to draw, and I'm going to breeze through them in a day. That's usually how I go into thumbnails, but that is not how they always turn out. Because thumbnails take a lot of thinking, because you're figuring out things like composition and expression and page flow and continuity. It's a lot of just sitting there in front of the page, just thinking how I want to lay things out, and then trying it, and then erasing it if it doesn't work, and thinking about it more. And when I was working on these, Bones and I were listening to videos and podcasts and stuff, and I kept having to be I'm sorry, we gotta turn this off because I need to think. So I put on some instrumental music, because that doesn't take a lot of thought to listen to it. It can blend into the background while I think. So yeah, it did take much longer than I'd hoped. However, they take less time than, say, inking something or coloring something, but they take a lot of thinking. And I also find I'm very tired at the end of it, because I've done so much thinky work. I don't know. It's like sitting down and solving a puzzle for hours and hours, and you're oof, time to go turn my brain off for a little bit. So yeah, I think that's the one downside of thumbnails, is just how taxing they can be on your brain. And they always take longer than you think they're going to take, but they're totally worth it, because it saves you so much pain when you're penciling, so that you don't have to do all the thinky work while you're penciling, and also make beautiful artwork for you to ink later. Do your thumbnails. So this is round 1 of thumbnails for me, where I'm going to start with these black and white thumbnails. Bones is going to go through them and approve them. He's probably going to be looking for things like continuity, composition, expression, just making sure everything reads how he wanted it to. If something feels too much like a comedy scene when it's supposed to be dramatic, he'll stop that stuff, etc. Or if he's this composition's weird, this panel's weird, change it. And so I'll have to do a round of corrections, just fixing the black and white stuff. And then once he's happy with that, we're going to do a color thumbnail. We don't do this for Magpie, because Magpie's a black and white comic, but we're going to do it for Ninepoint. Simply because Ninepoint has color, and I don't want to be figuring out how the colors are all going to work when I'm sitting down to finish the pages. So this is going to give me an opportunity to sit down, see which color schemes I want for each scene, or for a single panel. I can compare all these pages that are in the same scene, make sure that the colors check out. I can compare different scenes that have different colors to make sure that they all feel like they're from the same story. So I will get into that whenever I get to the color thumbnails, but that is the next step. And then again, we'll do a round of corrections, and then I can actually start on the pencils. And there you go, that is a glimpse into our process. And I'm really excited. I'm so happy to be starting on these. It has been a long time coming, and I'm just really excited. I really like Ninepoint. I've been reading this script for like a year or two now, so I'm so excited to like actually put it down on paper and make it happen. Yes. Overall, I think the issue is like 50-something pages, so it's gonna be like a thick book. That's crazy. I kept thinking of like issue number 1, which is like 20 pages, and I was like, that'll be easy. And then I was like reading the script, and I was like, oh my god, this is the long boy. After taking a break for like Christmas and New Year's on video production, like we did a whole bunch of like pre-filmed stuff, just because we had to travel during Christmas and New Year's. So like we got like a week or two with no videos being made, and it was weird. Like it was nice to relax, but getting back into making videos, I'm like, what the heck? But getting back into the swing of like production and like thinking about webcomics and talking about them again is very weird. Bones and I are gonna go buy new pants today. I know, our lives are very exciting. I really don't know how long these thumbnails are gonna take. They shouldn't take too long. I think I finished like 20 thumbnails. They're not all in this footage, but I finished like 20 thumbnails within like a couple of hours, so it shouldn't take too long as I commit like a little bit of time every day to working on these. I was hoping the next vlog would have color thumbnails beginning, but I suspect that might not happen, so prepare to see more thumbnails, or maybe color thumbnails. I don't know guys, we'll see what the future holds. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Go read The Magpie, which is not this comic. But on Friday, Bones and I have started posting The Magpie again after a long hiatus from like May. And we're going to be posting Fridays and Mondays. So tomorrow you'll get a little Magpie update. You can find all our comic links in the description. Go read Magpie, and if you want to read Ninepoint, it is in our store, so you can read it there. And I hope you all have a lovely day, and don't work too hard, and achieve all your dreams. Goodbye!